This time is yours. The time is now, and you're willing to be uncomfortable to do the things that you need to do to make the things happen that you want to have happen. Today on The Rutledge Perspective, we are going to talk about what it means when I say this is your time. So, little story. I am, as many of you know, I'm finishing up a certification, a business coach certification. So I am one of the will be graduating cadet of the first cohort of the Hello 7 Business Coach Certification Program. And I'm really skeptical about most certifications. Why? Because most certifications are merely performative to say that you have achieved a level of knowledge, skill, et cetera, to be able to do the thing, which is great. And in many of these courses, there really is good information. Although years ago when I took the HR certification, I'm like, this sounds really good. And that's what the book says, but that's not how it works in real life with people, right? And so I did those certifications because it mattered more to other people than it did to me, right? There's something, it's kind of like what degree you have, what school you went to. There's things that are external to you that drive some of this prestige around some of these certifications. But in my esteemed years, as my wisdom highlights are showing up in full force today, a certification does not an expert make. A certification does not a competent person make. But a certification at least gives you some level of idea of some hurdles that someone has crossed. And so I embarked upon this certification because it is the only one I've seen in a very, very long time that aligned with how I think about business, how I think about engaging with people. The person who's doing it, Rachel Rogers, the philosophies around the business, around building up communities through building up women who are running businesses, all of those things, right? It's up 114%, the number of women-owned businesses, up 114% over the last few years, right? So it all aligned. And I decided to do this certification for me. It's like, you know what? This is year 6 of the business. If I'm really serious about this, which I am, what am I doing to continue to broaden my skills and ensure not just from a delivering of services, because I always am looking at ways to continue to broaden those skills, but what am I doing in terms of just running a business, right? To be able to make sure that I have all of the skills and tools that I need to be able to do so effectively. So I decided to do this certification and I'm rolling along doing it. And each time we go through something, I'm like, oh, hadn't thought about that for my business. Oh, I should probably go back and think about that. And then we have to do these hours of certification. I've got 5 people who were gracious enough to agree to let me coach them as part of this certification. Good morning, Mama Young. And sorry, Angela. And I was in a place where I started coaching with them and using these new tools. And several things started happening. Over these last few months, I was able to speak at Great Women, Great Wine, which gave me an idea, which I'll talk about at the first break, for local women here in Houston. I spent some time with an incredible marketing person who helped me really hone in on, you know what? No, who I really want to help beyond these people for this local thing is these women founders, founder to CEO, because my genius is in that niche of professional services businesses, right? Those that it's about what's in your head, not the product you have. Those professional services businesses that now have teams, because then that whole idea of hiring, developing, managing performance is trickier when what you're talking about is what's in people's heads, professional services. So got really clear on that. Have that ready to go. It's up, been talking about it. I'm going to announce it again. And then I started working with these 5 women, 3 of whom I knew extremely well, and 1 of whom I knew really well, and then 1 of whom I knew, but we've become much closer through this process. And as I was investing in them, and they allowed me to invest in them by giving me the time and investing in me, right? It's a symbiotic relationship. I started hearing things like, you are gifted at this process, Laurel. This is so what you need to be doing. I never would have had this aha had I not talked to you. Hearing from my clients that their team has been transformed by working with me, especially talking about how they move from being a colleague, right, to a supervisor, from buddy to boss. And I started sitting with those things as I have been deciding and moving through and prepping for 2024. October and November were pretty tough. They were pretty tough emotionally. They were pretty tough mentally. They were pretty tough financially, all the things. So tough, in fact, that I really thought, is this real? Am I listening to the messages right? Are the God winks I thought I was getting, are they real? Or did I just make this up and I just needed a 6-year vacation because I was so exhausted and so beat up and so beat down? But then I started listening to the messages again. And the big message that came out was, this is your time. This is your time. I went back to all of the things I tell my clients to do, right? I went back to what I know, which is it's important to think about 4 key questions: who you are, where you are, what you want, and what it's going to take you to get there. That's it. 4 questions. Whether you're building a business or a career, it's those 4 questions. And I went back to my Rutledge Perspective Tree, which has been copyrighted, my Rutledge Perspective Tree. And I started back with my root system, which I know: faith, family, friends, and health. And I started looking at how off kilter I was. And every time I'm off kilter, I know something in those 4 is off kilter. Family was doing pretty good, right? I was staying connected with mom. I was able to spend some time with her. This freedom of having my own business enabled me to do that. I was able to connect with some of my friends. I've been able to do more of that. I've got some more. So Saraz, get ready because I'm sending a Zoom link here shortly. Was able to reconnect with some friends that I haven't talked to in a long time. Was able to go see a friend in California, spend some time with her, and I really needed that. So that was working. But the 2 that weren't really were faith and health. Those are the ones that were off. I was not eating as well as I should, if I'm really honest. I wasn't eating as well and consistently as I needed to. I wasn't spending the time in mobility and exercise that I needed to. And I know when I do those things, I feel so much better. My brain works better. My spirit's better. And then I wasn't being consistent in my daily meditative practice. I wasn't. I was praying. I was believing. I was hoping. I was crying. I was doing all the things. But was I really being deliberate? And when I said, you know what, Laurel, physician, heal thyself, number 1. And number 2, you cannot ask your clients to do things that you're not willing to do yourself. Leaders don't ask people to do things that they themselves are not willing to do. Because leadership is about getting things done with, through, by, and for other people. That's what leadership is. Leadership is not about you. Leadership is about the people that you're leading. So as I held myself to account and said, Laurel, you got choices. And you're free to make whatever choices you want to make, but you are not free from the consequences of those choices. And if you choose to not get back on your mobility, if you choose to keep eating like crap, if you choose to do those things, then you can't be mad at how you feel. You can't be mad about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. I don't remember where I saw that quote, but it guts me every time I hear it, and I've got it taped to my computer. So I had a choice. I could do better about my eating, and I feel better when I do that. And then I had a choice. I could begin my day concerned, worried, upset, all the things, or I could begin my day saying, you know what? Not my will, but yours. Guide me in the way you want me to go. Claiming everything that you've already promised me is mine and believing that. And being mindful of the words that I put out there. Y'all have seen and heard my episodes on Words Matter. And I believe that. I believe that with every fiber of my being, that words matter. And the words we put out there matter. And I went back and I started looking at, okay, so what am I saying? What am I saying? What am I doing? What am I meaning? What am I putting out in the universe? Because what you put out is what you get back. The seeds you sow create the harvest you get. And the words I was putting out there at this time, knowing going into year number 7, I won't say this is make or break year, but it is a year that I really want things and need things to really crank up. And I'm exceptional at what I do, right? I know that I can say those words, but have those words gotten as deep as I need them to get? So I started being really discerning, really mindful of what I was saying to myself, what I was saying out loud to others. And we sometimes say things like, "Ooh, I tell you what, these hormones are killing me." Well, we women say that, right? These hormones are killing me. These hot flashes. I don't know. My body is just not responding. All the things. Now, those experiences are true. It's true that hormones get really crazy. It's true that the hot flashes, all those things are true. But what is not true is saying that those things will never be different. That those things are impacting me in such a way that I will never get back to where I was, that my body's never going to let go of this weight, that I'm never going to be able to move the way I was able to move. That narrative is not necessarily based in fact. It's based in choices. If I choose to continue to not really eat well, and that doesn't mean perfect, it just means well. If I choose not to move every day, if I choose not to get on my rower, if I choose, right, not to sleep, if I choose all of these things, then of course it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm not going to move well. I'm not going to feel well. All of the things. I get to choose how these things show up for me and how I use them with the gifts that have been given me. I get to choose. And so what came to me in making the choice, because if you guys remember, there was a podcast I listened to that was an interview with the now chairman of Lego. And he said, we get this idea that we have to believe something before we act. We have to think it first and then act. He said, that's the exact opposite. You got to do it and then it will come. Through this certification, she's got something called courage over confidence. And the philosophy is, just have courage to do the thing, and then by doing the thing, the confidence will come. I'm all about perspective, right? That's a great shift in perspective. And so by making the small decision to just do something different every day, to get up, if my brain is up already at 4 a.m., just get up. Get up, do the meditation. Get up, do the mobility. Yes, you're going to continue to go to bed at 8:30 because you're tired, but your brain is that's what your body does. It wakes up, and it wakes up ready, and it wakes up moving, and it wakes up thinking and all the things. And I get to choose how I use that energy. So I decided I'm going to choose to just today, I'm going to choose to get up, do my meditation, do mobility, pay attention to what I'm eating. The next day, I'm going to choose when my brain wakes up, I'm going to get up. I'm going to do my rowing. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to do my meditation, and I'm going to pay attention to what I'm eating. The next day, I'm going to get up. I'm going to do my meditation, right? Just just acting before I feel it. Because I don't feel like getting up at 4, especially it's cold, it's dark. What I feel like doing is staying cocooned in that bed. But I choose to get up. And by choosing to make those small little steps, here as we are in the last few days of the year, getting ready for 2024, that I am just claiming is going to be different, because 2023 was a hot mess for most of us. It was just all over the place. And I'm claiming that 2024 is going to be different. And by claiming that, I'm also behaving in a way that's going to give me the best opportunity for it to be different. And so as I made those choices to do something different every day, small things, baby steps, getting back to where I wanted to be, knowing that I don't feel good in my body right now, but that's my choice. If I want to not have to go find those clothes back and dress for success that I gave away, then I need to do things differently and make different choices to be where I want to be and where I feel better. It's not about looking better. It's about feeling better. It's about health. And what came to me, which is the point of this message for you today, is as I did that every day, the message that kept coming was, this is your time. Laurel, this is your time. Every time you're choosing to do what is moving you closer to the thing you say you want, something shows up. You decided to do the certification. Something showed up. You decided to do the radio show and the podcast and change some things up and be visible and put some more things out there. An opportunity to speak came up. Out of that opportunity to speak came this local group coaching program that's going to be happening. I chose to continue to move forward. And what showed up were these amazing people in my village who are like, nope, we got you. Absolutely. When I showed up for them, what showed up from them was, are you kidding me? Everybody needs to know you. Everybody needs to work with you. Our team is transformed because you continue to show up and work with us. So the message today for you, through that long story of this transformation that is continuing to happen for me, as long as we're living, we're transforming, right? Is this is your time. If you choose it to be. This is your time if you are willing to take the step to do something different. If you are willing to choose the things that are going to move you toward the thing you say you want as opposed to away from it. So my question to you is, what are you choosing? Why are you doing what you're doing? Are you doing it out of habit? Are you doing it because that's just the thing you know and it's more comfortable? Are you willing to challenge yourself to be uncomfortable to get the thing you say you want? As Lisa Nichols says, your comfort and your conviction do not live on the same street. She said her grandmother used to say that to her, right? If you really are convicted about something, it's not going to be comfortable to get there. It's not comfortable to speak truth to power. It's not comfortable to say no to that new job or that promotion. It's not comfortable to release that client with LOVE. It's not comfortable to hire the next person or to fire someone who's been on your team for 10 years. None of those things are comfortable. And yet, if you are convicted about the service you are giving, the business you are building, the career you are developing, the team you are building in order to meet the objectives that in your mind and your heart and your soul are the right objectives for whatever reason. Even if you're working for somebody else, you believe in that mission and vision. That means you are willing to understand that this time is yours. The time is now, and you're willing to be uncomfortable to do the things that you need to do to make the things happen that you want to have happen. It is not easy, but it is possible. So what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And what are you willing to change to get the thing that you say you want? It seems like those are really easy questions, but I'm telling you, if you're willing to really sit with those and be honest with yourself, because see, you can't lie to you. You can lie to a lot of people, but you can't lie to you. If you're willing to really be honest with yourself and ask those questions deeply, the information you're going to get that will enable you to change your trajectory, I promise you, will be transformative. But you have to be willing to ask the questions and then answer them fully and answer them honestly and answer them with an eye towards what is this thing that I am working and trying and willing to do because it matters and because it makes an impact and because I know that I know that I know that I have a greater purpose, and that purpose is going to be fulfilled by my action. What are you willing to do? Because your time is now. You have been listening to the Rutledge Perspective Podcast. Thank you so much for downloading and for connecting. You can find previous episodes of the podcast on my website at laurelrutledge.com/podcast. You can also find me on social media at Laurel K. Rutledge and/or The Rutledge Perspective. And I'd love your perspective on the things we talk about. And if there's a specific topic you want me to cover, just let me know. And please share this podcast with someone in your village who may need this little piece of perspective today. And if you're so inclined, I would really appreciate a 5-star rating and review on the platform of your choice. Apple Podcasts and Spotify reviews are particularly helpful. Thank you again for listening. Take care.